Hello, I'm Jacob and you are watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Today I'm going to give you an initial impressions review on a knife that has been on my grail list for a very long time, and that is the Hogue Ex-F01, designed by Sheath. Real quick, this is about a 7-inch blade, 1/4 inch thick, made of A2 tool steel. The rest of the specs we will put in the description box below. But what I'm going to do is quite simply, we're going to go from the tip to the pommel. I'm going to give you my expectations for this blade and tell you why. Now, this blade has been used probably more than some other channels' full reviews, but the purpose of this video is basically to give you a general idea of how this knife handles and what it has to offer. And then later, probably about a year down the road, we will do a full review after this thing has really been put through the ringer. And how I do this is either I'll eat crow and say I was wrong in my initial impressions video, or I won't be wrong. That's about the only two options there are. Let's get right into talking about this knife. First, we're going to talk about the blade, obviously. Like I mentioned, this is a 1/4 inch thick A2 tool steel. So one of the first things you'll notice is Sheath's designs with Hogue typically have this swedge here. Come on, let's focus. We can do it. Come on. There we go. Typically have this swedge here. It lightens up the tip of the blade slightly. What I will say about the Hogue, and I'll probably talk about the fit and finish a few times, fit and finish is perfect. But what that means on this knife is that all of these edges are rounded to be comfortable. As a soldier's knife, as a utility knife, as a tactical knife, that can be a good thing. For bushcraft, if you like using your knife as a striker on your ferro rod, it's not such a good thing. I personally would love to see Hogue release models of the Ex-F02, both in their 5-inch and 7-inch versions with square spines. We'll see if that ever happens for bushcraftiness. The edge thickness is a huge thing on this channel. Let's stay focused, camera. Edge thickness is a huge thing on this channel because it does so much to dictate the performance of a blade. The Hogue edge, this is always hard to show on camera, but it is a thicker edge. Now, sometimes edges are left thick to hide weaknesses in steel and heat treat. So they'll use an inferior steel, not be certain of their heat treat, or grind and leave a thick edge to make sure that it's still strong enough so they don't have to do a bunch of warranty work on it. That is not the case with this Hogue. This is a very tough steel. I have high confidence in Hogue's heat treat because of their attention to detail and everything that they do. So when you get an edge that's slightly thicker like this, it's because this manufacturer genuinely expects this knife to have the piss used out of it. With that being said, this slightly thicker edge, they say every knife is hand honed and checked before it goes out. It came to me absolutely exceptionally sharp. If I had really arm hair that you could even see on this camera, I could easily show you me shaving it. But I can't even focus that close to show you.
Want to use my leg?
No. Whatever. Absolutely phenomenal edge finish from the factory. This, I guess I should have said this a lot earlier. This is a flat saber grind, as it should be. No hollowness going on here. So absolutely the edge geometry of a proper hard use knife with perfect finish. The other thing you'll notice, we are wearing away some of the finish on this knife. This finish is very very tough, but it's also very thin and it is slick. So while being much tougher than the powder coat finish that you're used to in knives in this range and in this genre, this is very slick, doesn't grab up on wood, doesn't give you any issues going through, and it is also tougher. This is a very premium finish, very well done. Moving on back here, we have some fairly aggressive jimping, a half choil, which is fairly unique in my opinion, and some lashing holes or lanyard holes. I don't use a lot of lanyards, so I can't really give you guys input on this, but I've seen some really interesting lanyards that looked really comfortable on these. I do believe that this jimping here, look at the detail of this. I wish my camera here could zoom in closer, but the finish of the handle scales is absolutely on another level. And that's actually what Hogue, a lot of what Hogue is known for, is their fit and finish on G10 materials and scales in particular. So there's no doubt that this is absolutely a premium finish on these handle scales, and the fitment is as close to custom as you're gonna get. But the jimping, I will say that if you're using this as a bushcraft knife, which I will, it will take some time to get used to. It does give you an absolutely positive grip at the while sacrificing some long-term comfort. So far, it hasn't bothered me. Also, while using the half choil, I like to choke up past the jimping, and look, the joint of my thumb fits perfectly in front of the jimping for that use. But if you're back here for whatever reason, you will not slide off of this knife, but if you use that jimping for a long period of time, it will start to wear on your thumb. So far, I've been happy with it. Moving back further, this knife comes with a wrench that fits perfectly in there, and it's really amazing how they got their retention on this wrench. In there, it's very secure while, you know, being removable. And the wrench, dang focus. The wrench is obviously for taking your screws off. It's not in here. I broke the wrench. Hogue is sending me another one. They stand behind their products. I've actually got another Hogue that I need to actually break. But they've always been great to work with, and I think I got a faulty wrench, which for me at this point is not such a big deal. I mean, but when we're talking about attention to detail, look at these screws. They're not cheap, and these screws have a coarse thread that's very tough, and they are threaded directly into the skeletonized tang. No stupid aluminum sleeve that both of the screws go into, pinching the scales or something like that. No shortcuts. Hogue always does things a little bit different than everything else, and they always do it with such a high level of attention to detail. So the finish on these scales is not smooth like polished, to a polished degree, anything like that, but they are smooth. They have a little bit of texture that's good for grip, but nothing that would cause hot spots. And this grip these scales are incredibly comfortable. These scales are on par with any custom aftermarket scales that you could buy in shaping. They are simply amazing. And you end down here with a pointed pommel. It's not sharp, but it would hurt to hit something with it. I don't really like pointed pommels. I'll probably never end up using it. Maybe I'll smash something with it just for you guys. But it's there. It can be a little bit less than comfortable. It's not bad choked down like this, but the problem is this knife is not a chopper. So it's not going to be totally comfortable to use like that, but I have used it in that manner. So let's talk about overall impressions and wrap this up. So I just talked about chopping a little bit. Let's talk about the overall performance of this knife. I have used it for a bit of chopping. Primarily what I've used it so far for was batoning in my basement for firewood and kindling. And this thing is absolutely a batoning machine. Also, when it comes to feather sticks and stuff, it's just a joy to use because that edge is so wonderfully finished from the factory. And I have used it for a bit of chopping. And the handle geometry is not uncomfortable for chopping, but the knife is quite simply not a chopper. It's only got a 7-inch blade. And so most of the things that this knife can effectively chop through are things that I could simply break off anyways. When it comes to chopping of heavier things, this knife I do not believe will excel, and no knife of this size will. Now, what I will say is that being that the tang is wonderfully skeletonized, the balance is very nice. It's right about at the center. Balance being nice, by the way, is an individual thing that depends on the purpose of the knife. I believe that this knife was designed to be a general utility knife, and I believe its finest application would be for a soldier. For instance, a modern K-bar, a utility knife that could potentially be used for tactical combat applications, fighting, whatever have you. This is a very secure grip, and just like any knife, if you're trying to put this in and out of someone's rib cage, I certainly believe that it would do the task. But I do not believe that this is your standalone one-tool option. For bushcraft tasks, if you have a striker with your ferro rod or what have you, and a saw, this is a phenomenal blade. I believe that this will compare quite closely with the SE6 and Rat 7. These knives are about $200 on the street, and I think that what you get for $200 is amazing because the level of fit and finish that you get on this knife, the quality of the scales, the quality of the coating, you're not going to get this elsewhere. You're just not close to the price. We're going to talk real quick about the sheath before I let you go. It is a nylon sheath. This insert on the sheath is not some folded piece of garbage like what I deployed with, which was from Tops. I custom ordered a knife from Tops, paid I think $350 for it back in 2009, and every time I drew the knife out of the sheath, pieces of the sheath came out, and I actually wore through the sheath before some stupid kraut stole my knife in shipping when I PCS'd. This is nothing like that. This is what a very nice nylon sheath looks like. I think it's probably ideal for attaching to a person's kit or bag. It actually comes with 2 of these straps. I shouldn't have taken one of them off before I did this video, but I did anyways because I just saw no reason for 2 straps. But I would say this sheath is jump capable. So I mentioned that this sheath, I believe, is good for attaching to a kit or a pack. I have put it on my belt. I do not think it's ideal as a belt sheath, and I don't think it's designed to be ideal for a belt sheath. In fact, I don't think it's designed to be ideal for anything. I believe this sheath is designed to be incredibly versatile for all things and not specifically designed for any one thing. And what that does, it's a little bit unnecessarily bulky, a little bit unnecessarily long, but ultimately the quality of it is very good and it will do anything acceptably. Obviously you could put a survival pouch on the front of this sheath. It just gives you a lot of options that are really, really nice. So the sheath, if a person wants to mount this to their kit or to their backpack, I do not see a person paying to get an aftermarket sheath. Now, I believe, as you likely know, that any knife that you love deserves a custom aftermarket sheath, even if the knife is $200, because I'll tell you right now, this knife, a knife of this quality, fit, finish, size, A2 is not a very common steel in this segment and price range. If this were a custom, which it absolutely could be, this would be a $300 to $450 knife. Hands down, no question. So I believe that it absolutely deserves a custom sheath that is specific, tailored to whatever you want to do. And since a knife of this size is most likely going to stay a belt knife for me, it most likely will either go to Armatis, Carry Solutions, Yellow Hawk Custom Kydex, Black Bear Kydex. It could even potentially get some leather from NC Custom Leather or Dave Puzon at Positive Made Leathercraft. I'm not exactly sure yet, but it deserves it. This knife is really, really nice. To wrap this up, as a belt knife or utility knife, I think that this knife has been on my grail list for a long time, and I am in no way disappointed. I freaking love it. This channel, as we close here, was made possible through sales at my website, Beach and Tactical, and also my Patreon. Those links will be in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider checking those out. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I try to talk to just about everybody in the comment section, so let me know what you think. Let me know if you have questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Please give me a thumbs down for this video. It helps my YouTube analytics. And also follow me on Facebook at Jacob Beach Peterson and on Instagram at the Preppers Bunker Outdoors. Those links will be in the description box below as well. Thank you for watching. I look forward to talking to you, and I hope that you have a blessed day.